Hello guys, welcome back to Custom Gamer. This is part 2 of Spherical Nightmares by Lundvall A.K.A WizardExt. I just wanted to do a quick bit of follow-up on errata before we get going. So in part 1 I was talking about the pipe puzzles on the various walls in the map, and how I thought it was kind of strange that there was a steam puzzle kind of instantly. That was actually incorrect. As you could tell in the video, there was actually a jumping puzzle involving the pipes before the steam puzzle. So I was actually talking out of my arse right there, so apologies. And the other thing I just wanted to quickly touch on is the final puzzle in the map that we saw. I kind of commented that it was kind of strange having to shoot the control panel. And someone correctly mentioned in the comments that there was an ammo box full of pistol rounds, which is kind of a fairly large hint that you're kind of meant to use the pistol to solve this puzzle. I just wanted to mention that because it is very, very true, and I did mention it in the video. Alright, so let's get into things. Let's see things hot up fairly quickly. And I want to talk quite a lot about the various combat scenarios in this map. This first area is a fairly good example, in that there's a lot of choice the player has in how to attack these combat scenarios, which is kind of true throughout the entirety of Half-Life 2, no matter what kind of situation you get into, but I just feel like the combat scenarios are very well designed in this mod. So if we just drill down and look at this one in particular, so the way I tend to take things here is very kind of direct, just kind of using cover and shooting. But there's actually, obviously I was using that mounted gun at the very beginning. There's kind of a flanking route you can take around here by these pillars. You can actually climb up one of these pillars, and there's a second mounted gun kind of raised up on the balcony behind me right now, which you can use. And then of course there's all the various physics props laying around the map which you can use the gravity gun for. And it all kind of meshes together quite nicely to kind of create this, I suppose you'd call it a matrix in a way, of just opportunities for the player to kill these enemies in interesting and fun ways. There's just a lot of variety in it. I mean, typically in a Half-Life mod you'll kind of have what I like to call just an alley, where you just kind of walk forwards and there's enemies in your way. David does a really good job in this mod of just providing a lot of tactical choice, and for the most part it's very, very well done. Some of the most enjoyable combat I've had in a mod in a very, very long time. You see here you've got like gas cans, saw blades, all kinds of stuff you can use. Typical with my playstyle though, I just kind of tunnel vision as soon as I see enemies. I don't really tend to look around my environment too much, but it's there if you take the time to find it. Just stuff lying around just about everywhere. Maybe there's even too much stuff in some areas, like perhaps here. I don't know. I suppose if you use the gravity gun a lot, then I think you'll really enjoy this mod, because there's just stuff everywhere to throw around. The gravity gun I think is used really well in the combat. There's always thought taken to place objects in the environment you can use with the gravity gun. So I think there's some new textures being used here. There's some like wall textures that I don't recognise from Half-Life 2. Some of these are actually really, really nice. You can see the kind of bump maps used on these textures on the walls with the light fittings. I don't know why, it just kind of reminds me of like World War II bunkers. I have no idea where that came from. Just this whole area just reminds me of like a World War II kind of bunker. There's some nice attention to detail here, lots of pipes and vents and everything. Always like that stuff. So here's another great example of a combat area that gives lots of tactical choice to the player. So again, you've got this kind of main alley going down the centre, but there's all sorts of like side passages. It gives a lot of choice to the player about how they want to attack things. So I think in most cases, in a level like this, you just kind of go down the center, and you know, there's some cover props around here which you can use to kind of creep from place to place. But David saw fit to add lots of side areas with kind of side passages and tunnels, so you can kind of outflank the Combine, or they can outflank you. And it's all well and good giving the player choice, but it's always a really good idea to give the enemy AI a lot of choice as well. It can be kind of tricky because the AI in Half-Life 2 is kind of very, very reactive. It generally tends to kind of stay back and suppress you and kind of wait to see where you go and then kind of move in. Unless you kind of script it differently, it's very kind of passive in that kind of way. Here you can see I got outflanked by a soldier. I've played through this mod a couple of times, and this area always kind of plays out a little bit differently each time. One time I got into a big firefight in this side corridor here. Kind of avoided a lot of big combat in the centre. I think that's kind of a really good way to kind of judge if an area is really, really good. If you play through it multiple times and it's the same every time, then I almost think it's worth going back and re-looking at it just to make sure that it's dynamic enough. I always enjoy it when I play through the mod and the combat is different each time, even if it's just in little ways, like the enemy taking different routes or reacting differently to where I am in the map. It's always nice to have lots of variety. Gotta find all those secret areas. So we finally get to our rail car. This is fun. I mean, you've always got to have a train in a Half-Life map, come on. It's kind of a hallmark of the series. This whole sequence kind of very much reminds me of the original Half-Life, especially the intro, kind of going through the Black Mesa facility on your way to work in the morning. I decided to take an explosive barrel with me. I couldn't tell you why, I just thought it'd be kind of fun to bring it with me. I think I was trying to break the map or something by kind of bringing stuff with me that perhaps I wasn't meant to have. And it ended up being fairly helpful. So again, we've got some more combat now. You can kind of see that, like, in the first video everything was very slow. There's kind of a lot of story segments. And now it's just almost always just like combat area, and then a little bit of exploration, then more combat. It really is kind of night and day, the difference once the mod really takes off. It's kind of interesting dynamic music, I suppose you could call it here, where as soon as an enemy sees you, you get the combat music start, and it kind of sounds a little bit strange. If you kill the guy instantly, the music will start and then just fade out instantly. I mean, for the most part it works just fine, but it's kind of fringe cases like that where it sounds a little bit odd. I can never really decide in kind of FPS games like this if kind of dynamic music that's, you know, starts a combat music as soon as you get into combat, or if it's kind of just, you know, placed very, very specifically. I can never really decide which method is actually better. So I almost feel like, in a way, that you know, when you hear the dynamic combat music start, even if you haven't spotted the guy that's in you yet, it's kind of already alerted you to the fact that there's someone there about to attack you. On the other hand, you know, when the combat music starts, I suppose you get pumped up, ready for combat. I suppose there's benefits and drawbacks to both, really. Now this area is another area where I got a little bit stuck in because I missed a kind of critical vent that's actually in the wall there where that red light is. Yeah, I'm wondering if other people perhaps got a little bit lost here as well. It'd be interesting to hear, because this is the one area that I kind of got a little bit stuck in. So we'll just skip ahead to where I find the vent here. Yeah, so I mean, the red light is there, so it is kind of fairly eye-catching, but I just didn't look up far enough to actually see the vent there. I'm always kind of a little bit leery of kind of critical progression paths, like going through tiny little vents like that, because there's always people that just won't spot it and get completely stuck like I did there for a while. I think if it's kind of a side area or a secret, then yeah, that's fine, because, you know, if the player doesn't find it, it's not really a big deal. So yeah, I think this one could have been picked out perhaps a little bit better. You can see here, as soon as the final guy dies, the music just fades out again. Gotta take more stuff with me. I was so expecting a G-Man in that other rail car there. Would have been another kind of cool throwback to the original Half-Life. Yeah, notice we haven't really had any flashbacks or kind of story bits for a fair while now. I'll talk more about that in a moment, because fighting. I like the fact that there's always something different happening to the train car. You're not just kind of stopping at each station and fighting dudes. They're like actively trying to stop you from progressing. That's nice. I think there could have been an issue of kind of the train pulling up to each station and you just get out and start fighting guys and then go on to the next one. It could get a little bit repetitive, but there's actually a fair amount of effort put into like keeping things interesting with the rail car. But yeah, I almost feel like this mod almost have like a multiple personality disorder. Something I attribute to the Fear series as well by Monolith is that in Fear you kind of had these like high intensity FPS action sequences and then you go through a door and instantly it's like turns to horror mode. And you have kind of these slow paced scary sections with the, I forget the name of that little girl that terrorizes you in that game, but yeah, you know, she's like making people disappear and creating all this mayhem and blood and gore and everything. And then you walk through the next door and it's back to high intensity action again. I kind of feel like this mod suffers from the same kind of thing where You've got these kind of story sequences, flashbacks, you know, a little bit of exploration and a little bit of puzzle solving. And then the mod just kind of flips gear into this, you know, really high-paced action scenes. It doesn't quite gel together as well as it should. Transitions could have been better, I think. I really enjoyed this little bit of combat here because at first glance it looks kind of very, very narrow, like there's not a lot of cover around the sides. There's no cover kind of in the centre, there's no like pillars or anything. You just have to kind of get creative, like the props lying around the sides. So for instance, like using that crate as cover to get closer to the sentry guns in the window, things like that. I thought this area really did encourage a lot of creative play from players. So I like that you can see the red light on the railway line there, so you kind of know that the train won't move. And the big out of order sign kind of helps as well, I guess. Here's another area where you kind of have to look up slightly to see the vent. This one's a lot easier to see though, it's not really a problem. So here's another area that I really enjoyed in this mod. As you can see, the atmosphere's changed a bit now. It's raining, you've got some nice fog in the distance. Creates a really nice kind of atmosphere. A bit later on there's kind of lots of thunder and lightning as well, which is great. But the main reason I really like this area in particular is, again, it's just more kind of player choice in the combat. So you can kind of see all these combine soldiers in the courtyard here. So you can kind of start devising a strategy to attack them before you even get into combat. But when you get into this room here, I didn't actually notice it on my first playthrough, but there's actually multiple ways you can exit this room. So you kind of got the windows and doors at the front. There's actually another vent around the side as well that you can get out of. And again, it's just giving more choice to the player. So on my first playthrough I just decided that a frontal assault taking out combine with my crossbow would be good enough. When I played through this mod a second and third time, I just played this area completely differently. Like going out the side entrance using my shotgun and SMG. Again, I think it's just, like I mentioned before, it's just if you can play through the area multiple ways and still have it be fun and challenging, I think that's really one of the best ways you can tell if a combat area is actually really, really good. Yeah, I really think that perhaps the dynamic music is perhaps a little bit too aggressive. It just does start feeling very, very strange, so it just fades out instantly like that. So here's that side vent I was talking about. Didn't actually notice it on my first playthrough, but yeah, on subsequent ones I used it quite a lot. I like the fact that there's like cover objects placed all over the place. I think in a lot of maps that I play, there's kind of, you know, the level designer has a really clear idea of how they want the combat to progress, and they kind of design it in that particular way. In these maps, I felt like David's been a lot more freeform, so there's kind of cover objects all over the place, just in case the player might go over there. And, you know, there's some gameplay value in that area now because you've got a little bit of cover. There's perhaps an ammo crate or something. It's kind of spread all around the place. It reminds me a lot of the Crisis series, actually, especially Crisis 2 and 3. It's kind of their action bubble concept. They just kind of let the player go all over the place in these certain areas, and it's kind of tactical value to a lot of the map rather than just a very specific set path that the level designer has in mind. I do enjoy it quite a lot. Out Village Coal Mine. Whoever's naming these places needs to be hung. I was kind of thinking for a moment here that I'd get to ride the minecart, but no, unfortunately not. You can just see the disappointment on my face. So this area kind of confused me a bit, actually. So you've actually got to turn on the generator here to power up this lift. Although when you first come in here, it feels like the generator's kind of already on. You know, it's ticking over, there's a light on it. It's kind of strange. So you hit the button here and, I guess, turn it on. But yeah, that just felt a little bit strange to me. I kind of felt like the generator should have been inactive, with, you know, no sound. Perhaps the light is red and you have to turn it on and power it up. I think it would just make more sense. And here we get another quick little tidbit of story. If you take the time to read the notice board here, you get some more little nuggets of information. Here's Harold the Gnome. This one can actually be moved, so automatic 10 out of 10 now. We'll just move him over there, I guess. But yeah, you get kind of a map of the island. There's some news articles you can read. You see there it says search operation has been called off, and apparently this island has disappeared. Alright, catch you in part 3.